Hey guys, this is Market Update. In this video, we're going to be looking at the end of this current cycle. According to cycle theory, in around 12 months time, should more or less be the end of this current bull move. And so we have to plan ahead for this. If you see any of my videos or the private updates for course members, 12 months ahead is where you should always be thinking, making plans for that. So we'll have a look at some of the on-chain data and macro data, where we may go. And so we can be aware of that and make plans for our own portfolios. So coming to the Bitcoin price, we're just hanging out at all-time highs. You know, we've put in some support here around the 60K mark. We had a big drawdown from the all-time high, recovered a lot of that. There's some Mt. Gox Bitcoin on the move, which, you know, may actually drop the price a little bit if some people are selling out of that distribution. That's all just short-term stuff. What we're looking for is the huge move, right? Up to 100K plus. That would be that massive price discovery move at the peak of a bull market. So that's what we're really looking for right now. We've had the initial move, but we think there's a second move here up to the peak over the next 12 months. And so that's what we're playing. What we're doing now is just consolidating around because central banks are starting to move. China is easing, the euro area is about to ease, and we're hoping that, you know, core PCE and inflation comes down in the States enough where they can start to ease as well. So people are probably just waiting to see how that plays out on a lot of the data. So could be volatile, could just move sideways. We don't really know, but the trade is for the next big move into price discovery. And that's what we're really looking at over the next 12 months, always thinking 12 months ahead. If you do trade though, check out Bybit, deposit bonus link in description, up to $30,000 to make a deposit and get the deposit bonus. You can check the details via the link below. Looking at cycle theory is important because each and every cycle has followed the same cadence. Bear market, recovery, bull market, and we're in it again and going through the exact same moves. We're slightly ahead in terms of Bitcoin prices because of the ETF. It's just a lot of fresh capital coming in. And obviously the Bitcoin approval had a specific date that had nothing to do with the halving or the macro cycle. So some fresh influx of capital there. Ethereum getting that as well. We can argue about Ethereum maybe getting more or less flows than BTC. It doesn't matter, right? It's going from literally nothing to a new source of capital coming in. So those two assets are setting up for brilliant bull markets with fresh capital. And then smaller assets always can outperform in percentage terms, in terms of their percentage price moves, you know, as wealth comes in from the top two down into the others as well. So everything is set up for the large caps and potential outperformance from smaller stuff as well for a real bull market. So it's all set up here. The next 12 months looks great. There can be external things that happen that, you know, drop us 40, 50% in price, but we can't invest for those things. We can only invest for what we know. So this is the liquidity cycle here. It's a very distinct 3.5, 4-year cycle, just so happens to coincide with the Bitcoin halving as well, right? So each time we get this inflection to the upside in the liquidity cycle, you can see these green dots here. That coincides with a big bull move for BTC. We've seen everything by now that liquidity really does move assets short term, right, in their price. So you can see each time we break through, we get a big bull market for BTC and expansion in the price. And we've just had it again. So in 12 months time, should be more or less a peak in the liquidity cycle. Each of these cycles moves 3.5 to 4 years. So 12 months time, which would be, you know, this time next year, towards the end of this year, spring next year, would be a Bitcoin halving top for sure, and a liquidity top. So again, you can see it's right down here. Usually it's just some consolidation after the halving, and it's actually around a year or so after the halving, each of these previous halving moves, right? A big bull market, price discovery, new all-time highs, you know, way above the previous all-time highs, again, around a year or so. So halving cycle is matching up with the liquidity cycle here. Really important to think because a lot of narratives are going to be coming in the space. You know, everything's going to get launched. This thing is going to flip the other thing. All of that's kind of noisy. You have to go back to basics and say, what do I want exposure to? How much risk do I want? How much am I going to sell out at the top of this cycle if I want to do that and take profits? Or how much am I actually going to keep in the market and potentially just hold through the next bear market? So that's where you should be coming from, not, you know, which assets are going to outperform. No one really knows. Obviously, we've seen some outperformers which tend to continue to outperform, you know, through a bull market. You can just have your baskets of risk, right? Top two, which are clearly chosen and now commodities. So they're different to the next set of altcoins to, obviously the risky meme coin stuff. Have a percentage of each. Know that within 12 months is somewhere near the peak for all of these narratives and all of the attention that's coming to the market. On-chain data is also showing us that we're not overheated at all. Again, kind of the middle of a bull market. So the overheated portion is the latter stages. A lot of price movement, a lot of new entrants, a lot of attention. Well, it's there, but it's not peak frenzy stage yet. And so obviously the price has moved a lot from the previous bear market, but for most participants, they weren't buying then, right? Most participants buy mid to late stages. That is a bull market because those people are in a rush to get coins, and that rush means the price goes up. That's the frenzy. MVRV Extremes is showing us that we've had some taste of it right here, but definitely not a peak frenzy bull market. You can see this is very clear. The MVRV shows us this, that frenzy is not happening right now. So it can last for a few months when it does happen. It's very, very clear. All of the data will show you that, like a red flag waving, like this is the peak frenzy when it happens. This is from GMI here. This is Bitcoin Core Risk Indicator. Again, it's a similar thing. I think they have a few different indicators here mixed in, RSI and some on-chain stuff. But again, this peaks during a peak frenzy. So as you can see, when the red line moves up to this level up here, that is a peak frenzy, very, very strong price moves. And we're nowhere near that right now. It's under my head. It's like pretty much at zero. So we've had a big move up from the bottom, right? A lot of people right here say, well, it's moved a lot, right? Yeah, it's moved a lot from the very bottom. Ironically, that's when the least people are buying. That's why the price is low, because the least people are buying here. The least people buy because the bear market is like awful time, right? It just feels awful. You're chucking money into a black hole. That's when the least people buy right here because they don't want to. So if you're buying there, that's great. It feels great for you, but a lot of people, the majority of people, of course, won't be buying in the bear market. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a bear market. The majority are going to be in the middle or topping out. And that's why prices rise. The majority comes in and forces prices up. So think about the majority. If you've been buying here, then you're in the minority. But up here, we're about mid-stage right here. So a long way to go in terms of peaking out. If you're looking to maybe take profits or take some chips off the table to make life a little bit easier, then if you were buying in the bear market, then obviously you've had a good price move, but it can still go a long way because a lot of new entrants are still yet to come in for this bull market. And that usually culminates in some sort of peak, but we're nowhere near that yet on this indicator, or the MVRV or any other on-chain stuff is showing us that, we're not really anywhere near peaking for this bull market. And the macro cycle could play out for another 12 months. We all probably assume that Bitcoin and crypto are going to continue to grow and appreciate in price over the long term. It's a growth industry that is becoming more important. But the real question is it going to continue to outperform, or should we put our dollars somewhere else? So let's have a look at that now. This is the growth trend of BTC. A typical bull market usually puts us up to this top trend line. Now it's getting slower over time, which is why it's curved here, but each bull market, we actually peak out at this trend. If we did that again, right, which would be somewhere in the next 52 weeks, you're looking at, from this price, around about 120%, 130% move. If we topped out at this peak line, it would be somewhere around 150K, something like that. So a potential 100% move to the upside again from here would be a normal bull market for BTC. Now, we may not do that. We may have a financial crash or something like this, right? And so we don't really know, but it's either no financial crash and a bull market, or a massive financial crash, huge money printing, and then an asset bull market as well. So either way, something's going to happen, right? And so a normal bull market would put us up to, let's say, 100% move from this level. If we look at Bitcoin versus property, this is the VNQ, so it's a real estate index in the States. We're already at all-time highs. We're about 30% above the all-time highs. So we're already breaking out versus property. So if you have excess dollars, where are you going to put them, right? If you can hold the volatility here, you're getting outperformance in Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin versus the NASDAQ. We're actually not at an all-time high yet. We're about 30% away from the previous all-time high. So potentially still some outperformance to come here if we think that this outperformance is going to continue. A great year for the NASDAQ is around a 20-25% move. That would be a brilliant year for the NASDAQ. Bitcoin and the NASDAQ move in unison in terms of their price moves up and down. And so outperformance would be expected. If the NASDAQ has a good year, 20% move, then Bitcoin would be, you would expect Bitcoin to move up to somewhere around this level as well. So it should outperform. So we should, again, be looking for outperformance of Bitcoin if we're in a bull market move. Again, we don't really know, is it going to drop down first? Are we going to grind and then higher? No one really knows, but outperformance is still there, in my opinion, looking at the trend of BTC and the trend of the NASDAQ. If you do trade anyway, check out the Bybit deposit bonus down in the description. The crypto course I'll be updating over the next month or so with what I'm doing and some of my research about the cycle. I'll link that down below as well. I'm James, this is Mazzy G. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.